What's the difference between a contingent offer and a full pending? That's what we're going to talk about right now, because it's super important to know the differences and to know the possibility of some real problems that might keep that home from closing. So let's answer that question. So I get it. Selling your home is a pain in the rear. To keep it always looking great, to keep it at the drop of a hat, where maybe if you're a nap taker, you can't go home and take a nap at 2 o'clock whenever you want to, because it might be being shown. It's such a relief to know, hey, I've got an offer on it, I've got a closing date set. Can I just quit showing this thing because it's such a pain in the rear? No, yes, you can. But my job as your representative is to tell you all the things that could go wrong, to tell you all the reasons that it might not be a great idea, and to allow the seller to figure it out for themselves and to tell us what to do. So let's talk about it. A contingent contract means that it's got some things that gives the buyer an out. It's not a full pending. Some basic contingencies, and there are lots of them, but some basic contingencies are subject to an inspection and subject to a loan being approved. Maybe it's subject to the sale and closing of another house somewhere else, and maybe you've got a kick-out clause. That's a whole nother conversation. I'm not going to have the kick-out clause one, but I will. But the two basics are subject to an inspection, being approved by the buyer, of all the things they want to inspect. And I'm going to tell you a few of the many things that they might want to inspect, and have the right to not accept the house if they don't like what they see on the inspection. But the basic contingencies are subject to inspection and subject to a loan. What can go wrong when someone's trying to borrow $300,000? A whole lot. And beyond that, people have the opportunity to kind of blow up their own deals if they want out at the last minute. That too is not a conversation I'll have, but let's talk about it. Okay, so you do an inspection. You typically have a home inspector come do an inspection. Free and clear, right? Done deal? Maybe not. Maybe that inspector said, I'm not a heat and air specialist. I think you might want to have one take a look. That might need to be a whole nother inspection to come in. What about plumbing? What about if there's some leaks? What about if it's an older home and they want to have a plumbing diagnostic done such that a camera goes down the lines to see that it's free and clear, the lines are good, there's no tree roots in the plumbing lines to the street? That's a whole nother contingency, possibly. What about typically things that people from an inspection want to do more inspections on is plumbing, heat and air, roofing, if a pool, maybe there's a pool and they want all the pool and the equipment all taken care of or looked at by a pool expert. What if there seems to be some shifting in the foundation and they want a structural engineer? I can easily think of 7 to 10 different types of additional inspections that a buyer might want. So what happens if you, the seller, say, Susan, no more showings. This is a pain. I don't want to show it anymore. I'm happy with these people. They have the right, based on inspections, to no longer accept the home because they wrote the contract that way and it was accepted that way, and that's typical, but they have the right to back off. Do you want to keep someone from seeing the home who might also want to buy it simply because it's time consuming or it's not convenient? That might be your answer, but you need to know where the problems could occur. Another situation is, forget this, we've done the inspection contingencies, and it's all waived. Everything is great with it. But it's also subject to financing. Oh, no. Have you ever heard of anybody losing their job last minute? Or maybe they don't quite give all the information that they needed to when they got their first loan approval and they had to check on those things. There's so much that can go wrong within the loan approval process. Have you ever heard of anybody suddenly kind of getting cold feet and they go out and buy a car and they screw up all their debt ratios? These things happen. It can happen a lot. And you need to know what the consequences could be if you, as the seller, decide, I don't want to show it anymore, it's a pain, I'm not going to show it, it's still your decision as the seller. But it is our obligation, I think, to allow you to know what's the possible consequences. Do I think it's worth it to not show it? No, I think it's still worth it. Keep on showing it. Let all agents know this is subject. You can be a backup. We'd love to take a backup, but we do have an offer. Some won't show it, but I still say make it as available as possible till it's completely buttoned up. Because again, I work for you as the seller in that situation. Might be a totally different thing that I'd say if I'm representing the buyer. That's where that representation and agency is so important. So if this kind of thing is important to you, please stick around, because here on my channel I talk about things like buyers and sellers and home design and all kinds of cool Nashville and real estate stuff. Hope that's helpful. Contingency and pending homes are two totally different things. That clears it up. See you soon.